Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Hi guys. Betty Botter bought some butter. Betty Botter bought some butter. Betty Botter bought some butter. Welcome back. I'm back to my laptop, so before we begin, a quick note. I'm not a professional narrator and this isn't a polished audiobook reading. I'm simply someone who enjoys reading important books, and not everybody has time to read, so I figure I'll do it for us. Some of the material in today's reading includes strong language, graphic violence, and other difficult subject matter. Because we are reading the book as it was written, those passages include as part of a historical record and the author's work. They're presented here for discussion, education, and critical examination. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Unique New York, unique New York. Do I sound okay? Hello, Flo. To NV, are you from Nevada? I'm from Nevada. I am from Reno, Nevada. Oh, what's the 2NV for? What's the, your name is Flo for you to NV. Middletown, New York. We just got back home from Minnesota, went to the Mall of America. Did you know they have a full-blown aquarium under the Mall of America? Yeah, me too. For you to envy. That's so good. My bad. Anyway, that's a cool name. I'm glad you're laughing too. Oh, I could have, I needed that laugh just then. All right, I don't know if you all know. Good, I'm glad. We're here to read this. We are in the middle of chapter 11. So Chaos by Tom O'Neill explores Charles Manson, CIA, and the secret history of the 60s. It is provocative. It is captivating. And it seems to go by the same kind of rules, like the conspiracy that's being uncovered. Same kind of rules we discovered in Devil's Chessboard, which I have a playlist for. All the books I've read you can find in my playlists, and if you just press play, you'll get started. Hi, Talons. At the beginning of the book and carry on through. So welcome to book club. We're starting with the curious case. Here, let's keep doing this real quick. She stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping. 6 sleek swans swam swiftly southwards. Which wished which wicked wish. Big black bugs bleed blue-black blood. Oh, freshly fried fresh fish. Who all's here? Say hello. Freshly fried fresh fish. I had sushi today too for dinner. That was real good. 11 benevolent elephants. Blue glue gun. Tricky Ricky, what's up? Thank you. Nick. From Australia, amazing. Greetings. Hi, Kates. Hi, guys. I don't know if you're just scrolling and you've stumbled upon book club. I am. This is how I warm up so that I don't sound ridiculous while reading. Hi, Professor. Happy birthday. Whose birthday is it? Steve, good to see you. All right. You're like, hurry up. Tricky Ricky. Yeah, it's, I have to do it. I feel like it helps. It's been, the 33 thieves thought that they thrilled the throne throughout Thursday to sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue I am in the Midwest of America. Hi. Hi, David. Hi, cool. 100% OG kicks. Thank you. Panicky. Panikies. Tricky Ricky. Actors used to do it back in the day to practice speech. I think they still do. They may still. You'd say 65? Ooh, I'd look good for 65, eh? Don't lose a toe. Repeat it 20 times without speeding up? No. So unique New York. Try to say that for unique New York. Unique New York. You loosen up with a shot of Rumplemints. I did some damage with Rumplemints back in the day. It was a toss-up though, because I drank as much Jaeger as I did Rumplemints when I was in my heyday, we'll say. Throwing up blood and stuff. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. Not to say that you are. It's not my birthday, friend. Hi, Gary. Queensland, Australia, 20 minutes outside Brisbane. Beautiful. I would love to visit your country. You're 27? Yeah, probably. You live in upstate New York. Cool. David, you think I look younger? Hey. Hey, Germany. Just a pickup line. That's funny. I hope it goes well for you too. This is a book club, so I'm about to start reading. We're in the middle of chapter 11, but this is about Charles Manson, the CIA, and the secret life of the 60s. Tom O'Neill was recently on Joe Rogan talking about this, and there's a Netflix special. But the book's way better, so. Aloha! Slovenia! Wow! NC? That's cool. Orthodoxy is cool. I'm much older than 32. Ooh, chapter 11, bankruptcy. You must be a business owner. Hello, the show of life. Thank you. 107.5, that used to be the hip hop station in Reno when I was a kid. 107.5, the Jam or something, and it was not a jamming type. Was it the Jam? What was it? KS 107.5. Well, I'm good. Okay, so Oliver Tree, he's up there in the top 5. I love Prof. Tupac. I mean, that's always standard, right? Eminem's probably up there too. My man really likes Mac Miller, so I listen to it a lot, but I've never had one. How long since your last colonoscopy? Huntsville, Texas. Grady, what's up? Welcome back. Prof Underground. I mean, he's definitely not affiliated with a label. He does all his own stuff, but I think he's doing pretty well. If you need an intro for Prof, look up Andre the Giant. Sick. Watch the video too. Thank you, Bones. Everybody's telling me I'm looking old. They got 62. What do you think? Blind Fury. That's for sure. I know he can't. Give what a go. Oh yeah, old-timey. Atmosphere is old school. He looks like a retired teacher these days. But I feel like Yellow Wolf, he looks like he works at Discount Tire and likes to gussy up after work. Like he looks like he's a substitute science teacher. Also, both of them. They just look like studious men, you know what I mean? Oh, top, Scroopy as Pip. Dude, I love him. I love him. He doesn't do music anymore though, which is such a bummer. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not Joe. I don't know. I'm gonna read though, so I'm gonna get started with that. I hope if it's not interesting to you, don't screw up my algorithm. I got book lovers I need to connect with. I need to get some thinkers and discussers. Yes. Devin, welcome. I love Ren also. Yeah, he's great. What was that one song he did where he's talking to himself? Hi, Craig. Hooray. It's not a woman's role to read. Maybe. Maybe where you're from. This is America. 10 jumping jacks. Ren's not here. Notes. Do I like John Irving? It's wild. Yeah. I mean, it's okay, we're inundated with AI entertainment, like connecting with a human and talking about interesting, thought-provoking things is a good thing. And if it's not for you, you can move along. We got plenty of folks who are rad here in the comments. You sound like you listen to Steven Anderson, which is cool. I listen to him too, even though he beats his kids. I mean, he's got some good points, but he's a little intense. Whether or not he beats his kids, I know he's strict with them. That's a controversial topic. Treat your woman right, and she'll do all those things because she appreciates you, big dog. Heck yeah, you gotta land a good woman though. You get what you put. You get what you give, I think. All right, the curious case of Jimmy Shaver. After midnight on July 4th, 1954, a 3-year-old girl named Cher Jo Horton disappeared outside the Lackland Air Force Base, where Jolly West was stationed. Horton's parents had left her in the parking lot outside a bar. She played with her brother while they had a drink inside. When they noticed her missing, they formed a search party. Within an hour of Horton's disappearance, the party came upon a car with her underwear hanging from the door. They heard shouting nearby. 2 construction workers had been napping in a nearby gravel pit when a Lackland airman wandered out of the darkness. He was shirtless, covered in blood and scratches, making no attempt to escape. He let the search party walk him to the edge of the highway. Bystanders described him as dazed and trance-like. "What's going on here?" he asked. He didn't seem to be drunk, but he couldn't say where he was or how he had gotten there, or whose blood was all over him. Meanwhile, the search party found Horton's body in the gravel pit. Her neck was broken, her legs had been torn open, and she had been raped. Deputies arrested the man. His name was Jimmy. Okay. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. A proper copper coffee pot. Hi, Bobby. Lenore. I am a Libra. Yes, we discipline our kids. But we also talk to them like they're individuals and we respect them. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. Ben. No one gives an apple like a horse apple. Mm-hmm. All right, what's going on here? Oh yeah, they arrested the man. His name was Jimmy Shaver. At 29, he was recently remarried with 2 children. No criminal record, no history of violence. He had been at the same bar Horton had been abducted from, and he had left with a friend. But he had left with a friend who told police neither of them was drunk, though Shaver seemed high on something. Before deputies could take Shaver to the county jail, a constable from another precinct arrived with orders from military police to assume custody of him. Around 4 that morning, an Air Force marshal questioned Shaver, and 2 doctors examined him, agreeing he wasn't drunk. One later testified that he was not normal. He was very composed outside, which I did not expect him to be under these circumstances. He was released to the county jail and booked for rape and murder. Investigators interrogated Shaver through the morning. When his wife came to visit, he didn't recognize her. He gave his first statement at 10:30 in the morning, adamant that another man was responsible. He could summon an image of a stranger with blonde hair and tattoos. After the Air Force marshal returned to the jailhouse, however, Shaver signed a second statement taking full responsibility. Though he still didn't remember anything, he reasoned that he must have done it. 2 months later, in September, Shaver's memories, plural, still hadn't returned. The base hospital commander told Jolly West to perform an evaluation. Was he legally sane at the time of the murder? Shaver spent the next 2 weeks under West's supervision, subject to copious physical, psychological tests. They returned to the scene of the crime, trying to jog his memory. Later, West hypnotized Shaver and gave him an injection of sodium pentothal, truth serum, to see if he could clear his amnesia. While Shaver was under, and with West injecting more truth serum to deepen the trance, Shaver recalled the events of that night. He confessed to killing Horton. She had brought out repressed memories of his cousin. Listen to me. I'm going to start that over. He confessed to killing Horton. She brought out repressed memories of his cousin, Beth Rainboat, who'd sexually abused him as a child. Shaver had started drinking at home that night when he had a vision of God who whispered into his ear to seek out and kill the evil girl, Beth. This Beth never sought for questioning. She was never sought for questioning. Anyway, at the trial, West argued that Shaver's truth serum confession was more valid than any other, and West was testifying for the defense. They'd hoped he could get an acquittal on temporary insanity. Instead, West's testimony helped the prosecution. Here was a psychiatric expert who believed wholeheartedly that Shaver had committed the crime and who'd gotten him to admit it in colorful detail. While West maintained that the airman had suffered a bout of temporary insanity, he also said that Shaver was quite sane now. In the courtroom, he didn't look that way. One newspaper account said he sat through the strenuous session like a man in a trance, saying nothing, never rising to stretch or smoke, though he was a known chain smoker. Some believe it's an act, the paper said. Others believe his demeanor is real. All right. West often treated Lackland airmen. He treated the airmen for neurological disorders. During the trial, it came out that Shaver had suffered from migraines so debilitating that he'd dunk his head in a bucket of ice water when he felt one coming on. He sought regular treatment, and the Air Force had recommended him for a 2-year experimental program. The doctor who attempted to recruit him was never named. Shaver's medical history was scrutinized at trial, but little mention was made of the base hospital where West had conducted his MK Ultra experiments on unwitting patients. On the stand, West said he'd never gotten around to seeing whether Shaver had been treated there. I checked. Lackland officials told me there was no record of him in their master index of patients, but curiously, all the records for patients in 1954 had been maintained, with one exception. The file for last names beginning with S.A. through S.T. had vanished. Of course they did. Articles in court testimony described it's Shaver, and I keep saying Schaefer, Shaver's mental state, just as West had described his experiments the previous summer. Amnesia and trance-like states. A man violating his moral code with no memory of doing so. And West had written that he had planned to experiment on Lackland airmen for projects that must eventually be put to test in practical trials on the field. This was all the more difficult to ignore after I got the transcript of Shaver's truth serum interview. West had been leading questions to walk the entranced Shaver through the crime. "Tell me about when you took your clothes off, Jimmy," he said, and trying to prove that Shaver had repressed memories. "Jimmy, do you remember when something like this happened before? Or after you took off her clothes, what did you do?" "I never did take off her clothes," Shaver said. The interview was divided into thirds. No, the interview was divided into thirds. Did I say about? For what? The middle third, for some reason, wasn't recorded. When the record picked up, the transcript said, "Shaver is crying. He has been confronted with all the facts repeatedly." West asked, "Now you remember it all, don't you, Jimmy?" "Yes, sir," Shaver replied, just in tears. What a wicked thought. So for West, this seems to have been business as usual, but it left an indelible mark on the psychiatrists who worked with him. One of them, Gilbert Rose, was so baffled by the Shaver case that he went on to write a play about it. When I reached Rose by phone in 2002, he said Shaver still haunted him. "In my 50 years in the profession," he said of the truth serum interview, "that was the most dramatic moment ever, when he clapped his hands to his face and remembered killing the girl." But Rose was shocked when I told him that West had hypnotized Shaver in addition to giving him sodium pentothal. After I read Rose's citations from articles, reports, and transcripts, and the transcript, he seemed to accept it, but he was adamant that West had never said anything. Hypnotism was not part of the protocol. He'd also never known how West had found out about the case right away. "We were involved from the first day," Rose recalled. "Jolly phoned me in the morning of the murder," Rose said, giving me flashbacks to Sharok Hatami's memory of Reeve Whitson. What a sentence, dang it. Hi, welcome back. What was your name again? The Good News? Did you tell me? If not, I can just call you the Good News. Nick. Hi, Nick. Sipping on beer juice, Linder Tube. All right. Let me read that again, because having two interesting names. All right. "We were involved from the first day," Rose recalled. "Jolly phoned me in the morning of the murder," Rose said, giving me flashbacks to Sharok Hatami's memory of Reeve Whitson, who called him before the Tate murders had even been discovered, to say there was a murder. He initiated it, so Jolly West initiated it. West may have shielded himself from scrutiny, but he made only a minimal effort to exonerate Shaver. The airman was found guilty, though an appeals court ruled that he had an unfair trial. He was convicted again in the retrial in 1958, on his 33rd birthday, mind you. He was executed by the electric chair. Wow, he maintained his innocence the whole time. On his 33rd birthday, though, a little on the nose, fellas. So West claimed he was in the courtroom the day Shaver was sentenced to death. Around this time, he became vehemently against capital punishment. I couldn't help but wonder if it was because he knew his experiments might have led to the execution of an innocent man and the death of a child. What if his correspondence with Gottlieb, predating the crime by just a year, had been presented at the trial? Would the outcome have been the same? Just in case, JC. Your name is Steve? That's funny. Tusco goes down. If the Shaver incident was the most harrowing chapter of West's career, the most surreal belonged to Tusco. An elephant. Who said this? Who said it? Was it Divining Rod who said he overdosed an elephant? Tusco. So if the Shaver incident was the most harrowing chapter of West's career, the most surreal belonged to Tusco, an elephant. Of all West's experiments, this one netted the most press, much of it scathing. But the public didn't know that the CIA's Sidney Gottlieb had funded it. On August 2nd of 1962, West headed to Oklahoma City's Lincoln Park Zoo, where he'd invited a crowd of eager onlookers to watch his latest test. To their delight, he'd secured an Asian elephant named Tusco, an exotic specimen in Oklahoma. West would attempt, he explained, to induce musth, M-U-S-T-H, a form of madness that occurred in male elephants during the rutting season. Musth caused violent behavior changes. Normally cooperative and tameable, the elephant now runs berserk for a period of about 2 weeks, during which time he may attack or destroy anything in his path. He's like, come see, gather round while I make this elephant destroy anything in its path. And I'm like, yay, let's take the kids. I wouldn't. I mean, I might. I'd be like, maybe we should go watch see what happens. I'm reading a book. This is a cool story though about how he OD'd an elephant with LSD and killed it. This guy was sinister AF. All right, normally cooperative. All right, destroying everything in its path. West explained, claiming whole villages had been wiped out by a single mustang animal. In his rage, the elephant secreted a mysterious fluid, brown and sticky, from his temporal gland. Could it prove medically useful? He intended to find out, I guess, West. Jolly West. His method was simple. He would simulate musth by injecting the elephant with a lot of LSD. But West had miscalculated the dosage. Tusco weighed a whopping 7,000 pounds. West shot him with 2,800 milligrams of acid, about 1,400 times the quantity given to a human, to produce a marked mental disturbance. By West's own measurements. So 5 minutes after the injection, West later wrote, Tusco trumpeted, collapsed, fell heavily onto his right side, defecated, and went into status epilepticus, a respiratory seizure resulting in death. I remember seeing the video of that. Everybody thought he was electrocuted. They said they electrocuted an elephant, but that was this. I wonder if that was if that's the same video. Because it's like he tensed up and then fell and just died. And everybody's like, that looks like he was electrocuted. The next morning, the next morning's paper featured a front page photo of the portly psychiatrist bent over the deceased pachyderm. There were no animal rights groups then. Tusco's death was received more as comedy than tragedy. For a time, West became the laughingstock of the scientific community, and he was soon making fun of the mishap himself. He liked to inform his lecture audience that he was the doctor famous for killing an elephant with LSD. When I asked Roger Smith about West, he exclaimed, "He's the guy who killed the elephant. Great story, wonderful story. He's always told it." The mystery behind the joke was why LSD had been used on an elephant in the first place. What good did it do to stimulate musth? Anyway, West, true to form, never gave the same explanation twice. So, speaking to an interviewer from the Medical Tribune and to another from the Daily Oklahoman, West said his objective was to find an animal model for recurring psychosis in humans. Elephant brains were useful analogs for the human mind. They had excellent memories, creative judgment, sophisticated problem-solving abilities, and even an individual personality. Looking at elephant violence offered an opportunity to learn what changes are correlated with this gross behavior, and to see if those changes happened in people too. And yet, in a December 1962 article from the journal Science, West and his co-researcher acted as if their ambitions were purely zoological. If they surgically removed an elephant's glands before puberty, he might grow up to be a sexually capable but behaviorally tractable animal. Their recommendations were so preposterous that they occasioned an avalanche of letters to science. Outraged scientists questioned West's true objectives, labeling him capricious and irresponsible. I failed to see any scientific merit, one wrote, or purpose. West left his position at the University of Oklahoma in January of '69. His successor, Dr. Gordon Deckert, found records in the department's files about the Tusco debacle. When the elephant died, the department was worried. How in the world are we going to pay for that? Deckert recalled. All Jolly would say to anybody was that he would find a way to pay for it. I learned then, when I became chair, that the source was payment from the CIA. Having known about West's involvement in the so-called brainwashing issue in the Korean War, Deckert conceded that he wasn't terribly surprised. The financial cover was the Foundation's Fund for Research in Psychiatry, Inc., the same group that paid for West's Haight-Ashbury project. Jack Ruby's psychotic break. At UCLA, I kept requesting boxes of West's papers, and they kept leading me over trap doors. Next, they dropped me into a quagmire I wanted no part of, the assassination of JFK, an event that plausibly qualified as the most discussed crime of all time. Certainly it bred more conspiracy theories, skepticism, and enmity. Why couldn't I say that? So, than any other incident in U.S. history, altering the way Americans digested their news and breaking the nation's belief in its institutions. I flipped through West's pages cautiously, hoping that his involvement was peripheral. It wasn't. Down through the trapdoor I went. Kennedy was shot as his motorcade passed through Dallas's Dealey Plaza on November 22, 1963. 2 days later, at the Dallas Police Headquarters, officers escorted Kennedy's assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, to an armored car that would drive him to the county jail. A man stepped out from the crowd and aimed a revolver at Oswald's chest. It was Jack Ruby, a.k.a. Jack Rubenstein, a nightclub proprietor with connections to Cuban political groups and organized crime. He fired once at point-blank range, sending a fatal bullet into Oswald's stomach. According to According to a first-person account that Ruby produced with a ghostwriter, published in newspapers in a scenario close to Susan Atkins, and again involving Lawrence Schiller, Ruby lost his senses when he pulled out his gun. Next thing he knew, the cops had him pinned to the floor, and he had no memory of what he had just done. "What am I doing here?" he asked. "What are you guys jumping on me for?" A psychiatric analysis solicited by Ruby's defense attorney said he had suffered a fugue state with subsequent amnesia. My brains. Hi, Chucky. Hi, Undead Duck. Oh, you guys, what are you talking about? Just a new card game? What are you guys just spamming the chat? Is that spam or nah? Happy day, y'all. Hi, guys. Hello. Rough to the rescue. Welcome back. I'm so happy to see familiar faces. All right. His psychotic break. Where was I? There we go. Oswald at trial. Nope. A fugue state, right, with subsequent amnesia. On the advice of his attorney at the time, Ruby said he murdered Oswald to spare the widowed First Lady, Jackie Kennedy, the ordeal of testifying against Oswald at trial. Another of Ruby's attorney, Melvin Belly, later wrote that Ruby had a blank spot in his memory and that any explanation he provided was simply confabulating potential justifications, and had been poured like water into the vacuum in his pathologically receptive memory, and once there had solidified like cement. So he was brainwashed. And somebody said this at the trial? Who said that? Melvin Belly later wrote. Okay, later wrote. Seemingly, as soon as the story of Oswald's murder hit the presses, Jolly West tried to insinuate himself into the case. He hoped to assemble a panel of experts in behavior problems to weigh in on Ruby's mental state. He took the extraordinary measure of approaching Judge Joby Brown, who'd impaneled the grand jury that indicted Ruby. West wanted the judge to appoint him to the case. At the time, police hadn't revealed any substantial information about Ruby, his psychological condition, or his possible motive. And West was vague about his motives too. 3 documents among the papers said he had been asked by someone, though he never said who, to seek the appointment of Brown a few days after the assassination, a fact never before made public. The judge turned him down. For the moment it seemed West would be getting nowhere near Ruby, who was soon convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. Ruby was reportedly unmoored by the news. He'd killed the president's assassin, and the citizens of Dallas had rewarded him with a trip to the gallows. He fired his attorney and hired Herbert Winston Smith, a psychiatrist with a law degree, who assisted in the trial to represent him on appeal. Meanwhile, at Langley, the CIA's Richard Helms was making the case that MKUltra's human guinea pigs had to be entirely unaware of the experiments performed on them. This was the only realistic method, he wrote, to influence human behavior, as the operational targets will certainly be unwitting. 1 second. This is getting good, guys. And it's also, like, it aligns with this. I wonder if it does, because if it was the husband, then it doesn't. But if it was the wife, I don't know. Lindsay, what's her name? Lindsay. I want to look that up quick. Hang on. Lindsay what? Lindsay. Casely? Posts. Let's see. Lindsay. Oh, it doesn't say it here. It does. Lindsay Clancy. Why didn't I? Anyway. It would just be, I mean, it wouldn't be far-fetched to consider that they're testing things, or they needed a salacious trial to take place. This was a couple years ago, though, so I don't know. You just got to question everything, don't you? Oh, we're reading this book. What book? Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s by Tom O'Neill. Walter White, Faked a Fugue State. Too many words? That's all right, Undead Duck. I shouldn't be listening to this because I want to read the book, but I'm into what you're reading tonight. Well, you can see, I don't know. Do you read a lot? That's all right. Although, I mean, I have a playlist where you could start from the beginning with me. We can read it together. But I'm glad that you're here, regardless. Spoiler alert, that's all. All right. I've been in the car all day too, so my butt's already tired of sitting. Not all day, but all right. So he got appointed he asked for a psychologist who had a law degree to represent him in the appeals. And West was vague about his motives. 3 documents among his papers had said he had been asked by someone, though he never said who, to seek the appointment from Brown a few days after the assassination, a fact never before made public. Oh, the judge turned him down. For a moment it seemed West would be getting nowhere near Ruby. Excuse me, who was soon convicted. All right, he'd killed the president's assassin. Gallows. Meanwhile, Langley. Shit, I hate it when I do this. I'm sorry, guys. Once Dr. Smith was driving Ruby's legal team. Oh, kitty cat, you want to come up here? Come on. Come on. Come on, kitty. Come on. Come up here. I'll save you a spot. Well, you could lay there. That'd be fine. You can get up here. Come on. Come on. You want to meet my cat? He's coming. Oh, kitty. Come on. Get up here. Jeez. Look at this tail. It's so long, kitty tail. All right. Jeez. Did you poop recently? You farted? My cat? Why? You give me pressies? Or... All right. Sorry. This is Lemmy. He was sad we were gone. We were gone for the whole weekend. Thank you, Area. Awesome. He's my kitty cat. He used to be an outdoor cat. Now he can't go outside, so he's getting chunky. He was such a hunter. Now he's just a lazy bones kitty. I tried to take him out on the leash. I made a short about it. He was cool with it until a little bumblebee started stinging him. I wonder if it's because he got a little, what's that, kitty? Yeah, the scab? From what? Anyway. All right. Human guinea pigs, that's right. Let me just start that paragraph over. Meanwhile, at Langley, the CIA's Richard Helms was making the case that MKUltra's human guinea pigs had to be entirely unaware. That's where I went off on my tangent. And that this was the only realistic method to influence human behavior, as the operational targets will certainly be unwitting. Once Dr. Smith was driving Ruby's legal team, one of the first acts was to request a new psychiatric examination of Ruby. He had one candidate in mind, Dr. Louis Jolyon West. Joylin. I do have dyslexia, so that shines through. Whom he noted in the court brief had enjoyed acclaim for his studies in brainwashed American POWs. Perhaps, Smith wrote, West could use his highly qualified skills as a hypnotist and an administrator of the truth serum sodium pentothal to help Ruby regain his memory of the shooting. Oh, man. West may have rewarded Smith with the plum assignment of helping him land. And that, listen, I'm sorry, that is Lindsay Clancy. I mean, her man, or I guess her ex-husband, he's already remarried to somebody identical to Lindsay. Freaks me out. He changed clothes on his trek to go get takeout and stop at CVS. Why would he need to change clothes? And how did Lindsay have enough time to strangle 3 different kids, slit her own throat, crush up and take pills, and then toss herself outside a window and become hypothermic in minutes? You can hear the kitty purring? Missetto, mus. Who's Sosa? See, I'm using these because I have my, the furnace is just right next to me. So, I guess it's adaptive. I just hoping that kicks on, there's no buzz. All right. You know, what if they hit her with the sodium pentothal and hypnotism? What if they did that to Tyler Robinson or Lance Twiggs? I feel like Lance should have been arrested. Somebody said they saw somebody with long, greasy black hair. Look at Lance. Anyway. Let me take a drink. To help Ruby regain his memory of the shooting. It's just so sinister. Anyway, West may have rewarded Smith for the plum assignment by helping him land a teaching position in Oklahoma. And so on April 26, 1964, West boarded a plane bound for Dallas. He was scheduled to examine Jack Ruby in the county jail that afternoon. The Dallas papers reported it in their final editions that evening. West emerged from Ruby's cell to announce that the previously sane inmate had undergone an acute psychotic break. Oh, my kitty. He just jumped off my lap and got me with claws. Now you're coughing? What's wrong, kitty? Oh, let me... Even if they had a video of him doing it, they couldn't charge him. I know, isn't that the worst? Kitty. My kitty. Oh, he's done coughing, I guess. Wow. Back to purring. All right, so on April 26, 64, West boarded a plane bound for Dallas. He was scheduled to examine Jack Ruby in the county jail that afternoon. The Dallas papers reported it in their final editions. Oh, crap. That's right. He did it. West emerged from Ruby's cell to announce that the previously sane inmate had undergone an acute psychotic break. Sometime between the preceding 48 hours, whatever transpired between West and Ruby in that cell, only the two of them could say. There were no witnesses. West asserted that Ruby was now positively insane. The condition appeared to be unshakable and fixed. He was like, whoops, it is what it is, though, eh? So in a sworn affidavit accompanying his diagnosis, West described a completely unhinged man who hallucinated, heard voices, and had suddenly acquired the unshakable belief that a new Holocaust was underway in America. Last night, West wrote, the patient had become convinced that all Jews in America were being slaughtered. Oh, no. All Jews, no. Okay, I'm going to start over with that. The patient became convinced that all Jews in America were being slaughtered. This was in retaliation for him, Jack Ruby, the Jew who was responsible for all the trouble. The delusions were so real that Ruby had crawled under the table to hide from... Who is saying this? Is this what West said? Yes, West wrote it. All right. The delusions were so real that Ruby had crawled under the table to hide from the killers. He said he'd seen his own brother tortured, horribly mutilated, castrated, and burned in the street outside the jail. He could still hear the screams. The orders for the terrible pogrom must have come from Washington. Pogrom? Seems Lance sure doesn't look like that femme furry they showed us. Why? Because he was wearing a hood that had teddy bear ears. Like, I have one of those. What's a psychiatrist? Is that a loaded question? Isn't that the one that can order psych drugs? Ooh. All right. West said the trouble had started sometime in the evening before the exam, when Ruby ran headfirst into his cell wall in an apparent suicide attempt. But Ruby's jailer, Sheriff Bill Decker, shrugged it off as a cry for attention. He rubbed his head on the wall enough that we had to put a little methylate or antiseptic on it. Decker told a reporter, that's all. He rubbed his head on it. From that day forward, every doctor who examined Ruby made similar diagnoses. He was delusional. West, however, was hardly the first to have evaluated him. By then, nearly half a dozen psychiatrists, many equally renowned, had taken stock of Ruby's condition, finding him essentially compos mentis, West had been briefed on these opinions, but in his hubris, he wrote that he had hardly bothered with them, having been unable to read them until earlier today on the airplane. Tonight, my own findings make it clear that there has been an acute change in the patient's condition since these earlier studies were carried out. The change was too acute for Judge Brown's liking. In the preceding 5 months, he spent many hours in the courtroom with Ruby, and he never witnessed anything resembling behavior West had described. Presumably, it wasn't lost on him that this was the same doctor who clamored to see Ruby months earlier. After the judge heard West's report, he ordered a second opinion, saying, "I would like some real, disinterested doctors to examine Ruby for my own benefit. I want to get the truth out of it." Sick burn, bruh. That opinion came from Dr. William Beavers, who examined Ruby 2 days after West. Beavers' report to the judge, never before made public, confirmed West's findings. Ruby became agitated, Beavers wrote, and asked if I did not hear the sound of torture that was going on. Like Judge Brown, he was alarmed by the abruptness of Ruby's disintegration. He considered the possibility that Ruby was malingering, but quickly ruled it out, explaining that it was highly unlikely that this individual could have convincingly faked hallucinations. Beavers wondered if Beavers, sorry. Yes, I am a concerned citizen. Welcome to book club. How long has who been in recovery? Me? Because I'm not. I had to for a time. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes. Name of the book is Chaos, yeah. So I had a difficult go of things in my teens and 20s, and I spiraled. I wasn't coping well, and I learned from my dad that you cope with booze, and I really gave it my all. And when I did the rehab thing, I went to AA. I was in the rooms for 5 years, and I am so appreciative. I was able to learn how to cope with things and gain some emotional maturity and good habits. And I don't see, listen, Sixers. Somebody else told me I look 62 tonight, so you think I look 18? All of y'all are nuts. You're a friend of Bill W. Awesome. So I will forever be grateful, but it was definitely something I didn't need to pursue for the rest of my life, you know. I was definitely poorly coping. 7 years, that's amazing. See, I went to rehab in 07, but like in December, so I went through the new year. And then I really did the thing too. I did the 90 and 90. I did everything they told me I needed to do, and it worked. I mean, there's the reprogramming, the 12 steps of getting a hold of yourself is so, like the most important part was the indoctrination. And it's a harsh word, but it was necessary for me, and I think a lot of the people who benefit from it in recovery. It's because we're rewriting the script in our brains to be spiritual, thoughtful, accountable, and all of that stuff is so brilliant and beautiful. And I even thought everybody should go through a 12-step program, but since I homeschool and as I parent my children, I apply those things I learned in the rooms. Yeah. And some of the old timers that I saw going to the rooms, it felt like they were very much addicted to the status they would have of 25 years or something like that. You know what I mean? They're the old timers, and they really liked holding that authority. It felt very toxic to me. And knowing or coming to the understanding, I've said this in other streams, but that they wanted to use hallucinogenics and this brainwashing type, rewriting of certain things, but used in a positive. This is the nefarious side of it, I think. And I wonder if there's any correlation, or maybe they got some of their ideas from Dr. Bob and Bill W. Because didn't they do their thing in the 30s? I don't know, but they wanted to use hallucinogens and this 12-step program where you are repeating phrases, you're clearing out your histories of your sexual history, your usage history, your things you feel bad about, the stuff you have to make amends for. All of that is so important. But if you're bolstering that with the, the effects of a hallucinogen, like that makes it a permanent recovery. And they rallied for a long time to try to, and learning that, I was like, all right, I don't need to commit my whole life to this. I got what I needed, and I was able to walk away, and I'm grateful that I was in a position for that to be my outcome. And I'm such a cheerleader for anybody fighting that good fight. But I will definitely always talk about my experience because it's mine. So 1939, yeah. God grab me, the serenity. Oh yeah, God grant. You must be voice detecting, which is good. I was praying in the beginning of a few episodes with the 3rd step prayer. It's like, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do my will. And relieve me of my struggles, so they may bear witness on those I could help. I don't know, paraphrasing. I'm sorry, Jesus, that I said shit while praying to you. Love you. Thanks. Amen. Why I play with my hair? I am ADHD, and I even when I cook, my hands float, and I don't know if it's a tick, if it's just self-soothing. Dr. Alan Berger, emotional sobriety. Don't worry, be happy. Jeff Ingalls. Grady, welcome back. Was poppin', eh? Why are you back? Why are you back? Did you leave and you came back? All right. Let's get back to it. Okay. That opinion came from Dr. Beavers. That's what made me laugh, because I said Beaver first, and then I got, very juvenile in my brains. So who examined Ruby 2 days after West? Beaver's report to the judge, never before made public, confirmed West's findings. He became agitated. Oh, I didn't read all the paragraph, though. Let me find where I was. If I didn't hear the sound of torture that was going on. Like Judge Brown, he was alarmed by the abruptness of Ruby's disintegration. He considered the possibility that Ruby was malingering. Blee. Possibility of a toxic psychosis could be entertained. Wait, Beavers wondered if Ruby had been tampered with or drugged by an outsider. The possibility of a toxic psychosis could be entertained, he wrote, but is considered unlikely because of the protected situation. But West was beyond all that. We know that, don't we? Beaver. No, Beaver examined, bruh. Keep up. The Beaver did the examination. I mean, Dr. Beaver. Let's keep it on point. So, the truth, by that point, was sealed up behind West. Beavers couldn't have known that the one of it. I'm sorry. Let's get serious. Beavers couldn't have known that one of his fellow caregivers was capable of anything so diabolical as inducing mental illness in a patient. His report would have turned out differently, no doubt, if he had been apprised of West's unorthodox forte and his long relationship with the Central Intelligence Agency. Dozens of West's colleagues offered me measurements. So my dyslexia. So me and assessments looked like measurements with the R. The R is the space. Anyway, so dozens of West's colleagues offered me assessments of his character. There were praise, especially from those who'd worked with him at UCLA, but there were also condemnation, most of it from his former colleagues in Oklahoma, where he had done the bulk of his MKUltra research. He was a devious man, egotistical, inveterate, yes, narcissistic, a womanizer. The few who hadn't already suspected him of involvement with the CIA accepted it readily. But the most relevant insight came from Dr. J. Shirley, his good friend of 45 years, who'd worked with West at Lackland Air Force Base and the University of Oklahoma. Shirley was one of the few colleagues who admitted that West was an employee of the CIA. I asked him if he thought West would have accepted an assignment from the CIA to scramble Jack Ruby's mind. Quote, I feel sort of disloyal to Jolly's memory, Shirley said, but I have to be honest with you, my gut feeling would be yes, he would be capable of that. Calling West a very complex character, he explained. He had a little problem with grandiosity. He would not be averse at all to having influenced American history in some way or other, whether he got the credit for it or not. Jolly had a real streak of, I guess you'd call it, patriotism. If the president asked him to do something or somebody in a higher office, he would break his back to do that without asking too many questions, even if it meant distorting American history. I suppose so, Shirley said. He was a pretty fearless kind of guy. A deliberate gangland killing. West's fearless intervention set the stage for decades of confusion and conspiracy in Washington. A week after Kennedy's assassination, the newly installed president, Lyndon Johnson, had hand-selected a group of 13 men to investigate the crime. The president's commission on the assassination of President Kennedy, better known as the Warren Commission after its chairman, Chief Justice of the United States Earl Warren, had some dubious members in its ranks. One was Allen Dulles, the former CIA director. Kennedy had... Why are we recapping, like, chapters of this book right now? A week after Kennedy, the newly installed... I guess it's just a recap. It had some dubious members in its ranks. One was Allen Dulles, the former CIA director. Kennedy had fired him 2 years earlier after... Oh! I just read Devil's Chessboard. This was all that. I was like, why are we recapping? Anyway, that was another book, though. Or did he already talk about it? He didn't. It was The Devil's Chessboard. That's a good one. If you want to go... if you want to get in on that book, I've got a playlist, Devil's Chessboard. So, all right. Allen Dulles, the former CIA director, Kennedy had fired him 2 years earlier after he got bungled up in the Bay of Pigs invasion. And another was the official CIA liaison to the group, Richard Helms, soon to become the agency's director, a protege of Dulles. Helms was the longtime secret employer of Jolly West, and one of the few agency officials aware of MKUltra, but no one else on the commission, except presumably Dulles, who started the program, was aware that a CIA asset trained in mind control had assumed responsibility for the psychiatric care of Jack Ruby, whom the commission regarded as their most important witness. You know what? Are we about an hour? We are. One sec. I gotta swap my app. Poppin' pillies. They're lip pillows. Ew, I can hear all that. Doesn't sound very good. That's what the kids say, though, I hear. I meant to do that behind the book. All right, but I didn't. Here we go. It was upside down, y'all. MK, I think so too. I think the whole of our nation is, not the whole, I think people are waking up, but we have been since the 60s. I think they've been using everything that they compiled, they put in motion. Every time like 9/11 for sure was an orchestrated wound our psyche so that we allow the Patriot Act. You know what I mean? And like October 7th so they could destroy Gaza and commit genocide. Like, they've been using these techniques on us in a very intimate ways, in a very like massive way for the lot of us. And you see people walking around in groupthink. Anyway, we spent like most of the day at the Mall of America, so people watching is crazy. divide us, hypnotize us, feed us shitty food so we're not healthy, you know, psychologically terrorize and then abandon all our veterans so they can no longer protect the country. You know, is it 11:11? It's 1:11 here. Just in case. Where are you at? I did not see that. Did you see U.S. troops are in Gaza? No, I didn't see that. And what, pray tell, are they doing in Gaza? Trauma bonding, absolutely. Hi, Ricky. Welcome. Tacoma. I used to live in Kent. And I lived there in Kent watching them arrest Gary Ridgway when I was 18. That was, man, that must have been right around 9/11. And I used to get mad at my boyfriend and go walking the Green River. I mean, I wasn't of the right profession, but I was like, you know, I felt close to it. Like, maybe I shouldn't have been out walking at night. Roya News, I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Joe. You used to have gold teeth? All right, Dorian. And now you don't? I always thought it'd be cool to have one. Like a gold crown. Where was I? Oh, we're over here? What? Who started the program? Yep, they're going to go over this again, though. Okay, in June of '64, Earl Warren and others from the group flew to Dallas to give Ruby a hearing in the interrogation room of the county jail. The bulk of his testimony was a morass of paranoid ramblings. He begged Warren to get him out of Dallas. The Jewish people are being exterminated at this moment, he warned. I know I won't live to see you another time. Do I sound sort of screwy? He demanded to speak with the Jew, whispering frantically, you have to get me to Washington. They're cutting off the arms and legs of Jewish children in Albuquerque and El Paso. So the commission, unable to extract a cogent account from their main witness, concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating Kennedy, and that Ruby did not act in conspiracy to silence Oswald. Although they saw no evidence of a secret plot, they could definitively rule out such a thing. But their integrity was compromised the minute West set foot in Ruby's jail cell. The group was required to investigate the CIA as a routine suspect in the assassination of a sitting president. Neither Dulles nor Helms ever reported their knowledge of West's employment by the CIA. As soon as Jack Ruby was no longer around to tell his own story. And soon Jack Ruby was no longer around to tell his story. He died in 1967 of complications from lung cancer. In the 70s, when Congress looked into abuses by intelligence agencies, it found evidence that the CIA and FBI had obstructed the Kennedy investigation. Weird, like telling Joe Kent that you can't seek or look into foreign involvement. I care in Michigan. This is Michigan. You want to? Dorian, what do you mean? I think they really do. Wait. Good night, the dirty chef. Thanks for not making our sandwiches. Who's? You want a sandwich? Oh, the dirty chef. There it is. I get it now. You're back Muller's Gold? That's cool. All right. My bad. Did I already? Lung cancer. In the 70s, when Congress looked into the abuses by the intelligence agencies, it found evidence that the CIA and FBI had obstructed the Kennedy investigation. Dulles and Helms had deliberately concealed the failed CIA plot to assassinate Cuba's director, Fidel Castro. Allegedly, the CIA had aligned with organized crime figures, many sworn enemies of President Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Punctuation matters. My bad, y'all. Allegedly, the CIA had aligned with organized crime figures, many sworn enemies of President Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. They teamed up with anti-Castro Cubans in Miami and New Orleans to assassinate the director. Dictator, not director. The dictator. Helms had personally overseen those schemes. The evidence, he wrote House officials, impeaches the process by which the intelligence agency arrived at their own conclusions about the assassination, feeling it had no choice but to start over again. The House voted overwhelmingly to impanel the House Select Committee on Assassinations and reinvestigate. That is the HSCA, House Select Committee on Assassinations. The HSCA openly aspired to make the Warren Report persuasive. Its final 5-volume report, arriving in 1979 after 2.5 years and $5.4 million in taxpayer money, did just the opposite. Based on new ballistics evidence for a second gunman in Dallas, the HSCA rejected the Warren Commission's findings that Oswald had acted alone. There was a probable conspiracy, it announced, to assassinate the president. The committee had to be measured. It didn't identify any potential co-conspirators in the president's murder. A few years later, freed of their congressional restraints, the committee's G. Robert Blakey and Richard Billings published The Plot to Kill the President, an unmuzzled account of their investigation. The murder of Oswald by Jack Ruby had all the earmarks of an organized crime hit, an action to silence the assassin, so he could never reveal the conspiracy, they wrote. Jack Ruby, working for the mob after stalking Oswald for 2 days, silenced him forever. This was a deliberate gangland killing. The co-authors saw no evidence implicating the CIA, but they remained suspicious. Their suspicions were borne out in the hulking 27-volume appendix of the HSCA witness published testimony, which described behind-the-scenes maneuvering by Dulles and Helms to obstruct the Warren Commission. Along with the FBI's J. Edgar Hoover, Dulles and Helms were determined to present Oswald as a crazed lone assassin and Ruby as a distraught citizen. Hoover released the FBI's initial findings just 2 weeks after the killing, concluding that Oswald acted alone. Hoover lied his eyes out, said the Warren Commission's Hale Boggs, later testifying in HSCA hearings. On Oswald, on Ruby, on their friends, the bullets, the gun, you name it. Dulles was no less complicit. He urged the Warren Commission to limit itself to reviewing the FBI's investigation rather than mounting its own. In secret, he met with Helms and other CIA officials to coach them on what questions the commission planned to ask. Faced with these revelations, the HSCA could only conclude that intelligence groups were hiding the links to Oswald and Ruby, if not a CIA effort to assassinate Castro. Some believed that the plot on Castro may have been turned on Kennedy after his Bay of Pigs invasion failed and he embraced other policy changes that curtailed the agency's influence, like reducing U.S. presence in Vietnam, warming diplomatic relations with the Soviet Union, and decreasing military spending. Even President Johnson had his doubts. The president felt that the CIA had something to do with the plot, said Oval Office memo from '67. If the CIA wanted to shut Ruby up, what was it that he had on it? Burt Griffin, an attorney for the Warren Commission, appeared before the HSCA to say that he and his partner had nearly confirmed Ruby's ties to gun-running schemes by anti-Castro Cubans who were shipping arms from the United States to Cuba in hopes of deposing the dictator. My bad. At the time, Griffin had no idea the CIA sponsored these gun-running schemes. In March '64, when Ruby was weeks away from his examination, in quotes, by Jolly West, Griffin and his partner approached Richard Helms, requesting all the information the CIA had on Ruby. They believed it was possible that Ruby was involved in illegal dealings with Cuban elements who might have had contact with Oswald. Hi, Talons. Melania isn't. Is she? No, she went through, she got her green card. She's got citizenship, right? How is she an illegal? And I'm not trying to be combative or contrarian. Link me the hate you're claiming he spewed. Who? Who's spewing hate? Oh, Faust. Your name isn't Justice. That's, I mean, you were provided an opinion because thoughtful people can go and examine his body of work. I mean, you could before his wife deleted it. But you can go and search through and find context to all the things that have been taken out of context and used to fuel people like you to go out and spew your own hate in public. Voltpat. Are you an electrician? The good news. Yeah, I'm glad that you think so. I mean, you know, they don't kill him for lying, they kill him for telling the truth. So I believe she was instrumental in the plan for unaliving Charlie. I don't think she's smart enough to have planned the whole thing. I mean, and they are using AI to make her more believable. Absolutely. Well, the people who own APAC did. You broke the rules because you didn't respect the rules, I guess. I mean, that's what happened. A woman should be the same? Oh, Dorian. She is an idiot. 100%. James, are you going to start? What are you doing? We just have to cut through the nonsense straight up. That's, yes, he stood up, or he stood for a morally good and upright nature. I know, and 100%. But, and you know what's making it make sense? These books, and I'm so glad that there's people who want to know what they say and hang out with me. 28 karat, that would be real soft, though. You would eat it. He wasn't racist. He wasn't racist. He put Candace on by empowering black youth with Blexit. No, I'm not voting. I don't think it's red or blue. I think what we need to wake up to the fact that there is an owner class, the Epstein class, and the rest of us. They want us bickering about race and about gender and ideology because they know they can rip us apart that way. And by implanting people with a language barrier all throughout your country, specifically in certain areas like swing states and so forth, making it so you can't connect with your neighbors really kind of breaks apart the unity of a nation. It's almost like they know that, and that's what they're doing anywhere there's a collection of people who might not approve of what the owner class wants. You know what I mean? So we have to rise above the bickering, and we have to like get in the know together and hold each other up through that process so that we aren't manipulated. We're black-pilled here, yes. Save our children. Well, Trump is beholden to Israel, and our country's government is occupied by a foreign nation. Again, Israel. And we're doing their bidding. And Trump was trying to do a surrender so long as they reopen the strait, which was humble and what a good leader would do in this position. And Bibi said no. So I guess Bibi's the boss, or we're going to see what happens, right? Charlie was not a racist. Prove it, friend. Thank you, Ricky. Trump hoodwinked us. 100%. I don't know enough about Trump, what they have on Trump. I think when they shot him in Butler, I think um, as set up as that was, they wanted it. I don't know. Maybe they thought he was going to die, and then they would lower the flag and then take all their pictures of the assassination. You know what I mean? I wonder about it. I've been like, whoa, was that even real? But maybe he got freaking nicked, and then he was, golfing with his granddaughter, and he's like, I want to save my family's life. Or they have something on him from the freaking Epstein files, and I just don't know. I don't know enough to say definitively, and I won't judge the man except for his fruits at this point because I don't know enough. You know what I mean? So, and thus far, he's been beholding to Israel, and we'll see what he does in response to Bibi's refusal for this peace deal. Yeah, I do, Renee. Have you noticed families don't get together anymore like before when the pandemic? Yeah. Charlie Kirk was not a racist. He was murdered by the FBI and plotted against by his Israeli wife, 100%. Trump rubber stamped Charlie's unaliving. He sure had no qualms about it afterwards. He had more emotional, a more emotional response to, what's his name? Lindsey Graham, who just died. He wasn't a racist. I mean, that's where we disagree. And I mean, there was nothing racist about him. Yeah. Yeah, to his gold pager. I think that was also another message to Trump. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. You can't trust little devices anymore. And he's surrounded by microphones all the time. You know what I mean? And what if Charlie, after Butler, after he was caught saying to Charlie in front of his Mossad handler, he's like, I'm going to take her money and F her over. And then Butler happens, and then he gets like a gold pager. And after Lebanon, and Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, he's like, man, like, screw this. I'm an old man. I want to protect my younger generations. I think that's what I think. I don't think they got Epstein's stuff on him. They would have used it against him already. Because all these never Trumpers who are Israel shills are now 100% Trump. And so, Chima, I mean, we can agree on some of it, but I implore you to go out and find where Charlie Kirk was racist, but find the whole clip. Go and like dig in, because if you're going to say it with passion, I want you to know for sure and know the context, and don't go off what other people say. Or I don't know. I don't even know where people got the idea, except for that comment about, because of DEI hires. Now, if I see a black or female, I don't know if he even said female, but it started there with women because it used to be just men. And my mom was a pilot and she had to walk through that as well. But like, you consider if they are hiring to fill a quota as opposed to a merit-based system, you're going to wonder about the competency of the pilot, especially if they're a minority, especially if they're on that DEI hire list. It just goes without saying. Charlie Kirk said it, and that gave people fodder to bash him because they don't want you to hear the truth. They don't want you to know that they're wasting your goddamn money, and they're trying to separate us and divide us into people who don't like each other, because then we won't protect each other. Then we won't be in a position to exercise our 2A right of a well-regulated militia. Let me get through this chapter. Firing me up here. Stop. Look, if somebody is identifying you or a person by their race before the guts of the story, they're baiting you. Don't get baited. We can disagree, though. What if I don't like liberals or conservatives? Yes, I think that's where we're at. I think liberals and conservatives are realizing how much they can agree on and how wild that is because they didn't think that was the case, but it's true. I mean, in these comments, um, I'll see you, Talons. I'm sorry. Is it because I'm right or it's because I'm not reading? Are you leaving or are you just going to bed? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they can do. I don't know if a third party is the answer. It hasn't worked yet. Good morning. All right, Renee. Are you Leroyd? Cool, man. Or chick. Or man. You're going to subscribe? I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. Look at Binary V. Got the idea from political media attacks fueled by those who benefit from his silence and who are endangered by the truth he spoke and would speak. What is the 19th Amendment? What? Revoke the 19th Amendment? What is that? Is that the women voting one? Are you being funny? Oh, okay. All right, Talons. I'll see you tomorrow, maybe. Absolutely, we can agree. Everyone can agree that Trump made billions. He is definitely done. I wonder if that just flipped um, his whole like concept of being the president. He was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to protect my family and we're going to make off with as much as we can because clearly otherwise it'd be another lame duck term. You know, his first one, he was fighting against the current, and this one, the current decided, you know what, we're going to use you. And he was like, oh, I guess if you're going to shoot at me and kill my friends. It is good conversation. I'm glad that you're here and pushing back, and I'm glad that you're receptive to some pushback as well. I think we need to feel like we can communicate with each other without getting called names or being called like Nazis or libtards or I don't know if it's a bot and I spell that BOUGHT, not just BOT, because they're bought and paid for commenter who calls me a skank tard all the time, and I think that's funny. I'm progressive and I do think people on both sides agree on a lot of basic things. Problem is conservatives keep nominating really bad people like Trump. I don't think it matters who's in there. I don't think it matters because APAC owns everybody. Not everybody, but the majority of them. It doesn't matter who's in there. They'll get their idea across. They'll get their agendas across. Look at how bad they made people freak out over fucking Doge. Like, I agree with you. Well, I mean, does it? Thank you. The price of finding a new tunnel. What is that? Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that so stinking much. But most of the Dems are too. Most of the GOP is bought by AIPAC, but most of the Dems are too. We have a very slim. I've shared it before, but they have like all of I don't know if it's Congress or the Senate. I think it's Congress because it's that shape. It's like the menorah shape, and it has all their seats, and it shows who's APAC funded and who isn't, and it's a fraction of our leadership. Thank you again for that. That's beautiful. Real chalk and bravery. Hashtag bravery. That's amazing. That always makes me feel kind of emotional. I appreciate it so much. Communication is key. Thank you, Paul. Butterbean, Uniparty. It is the Uniparty. Show tattoos, please. So this is an anatomical heart with a tree coming out the top, and I got the birds from the pilots in my life, and then I've got Jesus with me, helping me fight the scorpion. It's gonna be. I was hoping for a snake. I don't know if I want the snake anymore, but that was the idea. And then look at this one. It's not my favorite, but it's my bestie's favorite. It's this happy carrot in a sad box. She's like, why'd you get that? I'm like, I am. It's because I am. But I had a friend who died, and this was going to be his next tattoo, and I got it. So from beautiful Jessica Birdalis, Jaybird on Instagram. check out her stuff. I do agree with what you were saying. I just see it starting after social media. Oh yeah, social media was a big, it's an ace in the hole. I always wondered, like, I realized that if there's a service that you value and it's free, then you're the product. And like, I always wondered what the product would be, not just surveillance. Like, why would they care about what I'm doing? Oh, because they want to use what I consume in order to change my behavior. Oh, Anyway, sorry. Let's get back into the book because I'm doing a book club here. And I do want to finish. We still got like half of the remaining chapter. We're 90 minutes in. All right, where were we at? Hoover lied his eyes out, and they list what he lied about. Dulles was no less complicit. He urged the Warren Commission to limit itself to reviewing the FBI's investigation rather than mounting its own. In secret, he met with Helms and other CIA officials to coach them on what questions the commission planned to ask. Faced with these revelations, the HSCA could only conclude that intelligence groups were hiding their links to Oswald and Ruby, if not a CIA effort to assassinate Castro. Some believe the plot on Castro may have been turned on Kennedy. I did read this. Shit. Oval Office memo had some... All right, so they conclude... The HSCA concludes that the Warren Commission, because there was clear evidence that there was a conspiracy. So if the CIA wanted to shut Ruby up, what was it he had on it? Burt Griffin, an attorney for the Warren Commission, appeared before the HSCA to say that he and his partner had nearly confirmed Ruby's ties to the gun-running schemes. I read this too by anti-Castro Cubans who were shipping arms from the United States to Cuba in hope of deposing the dictator. And I screwed up that the last time too. Anyway, at the time, Griffin had no idea that the CIA sponsored these gun-running schemes. In March of '64, when Ruby was weeks away from his examination by Jolly West, Griffin and his partner approached Richard Helms, requesting all the information they had on Jack Ruby. They believed it was possible that Ruby was involved in illegal dealings with Cuban elements who might have had contact with Oswald. Helms offered only a curt reply. The CIA would be very limited in its possibility of assisting. Griffin was baffled. This was someone who was supposed to be helping him. He appealed again. By the time Helms mustered a response, months had passed, and West had long since paid his fateful visit to Ruby. An examination of agency files, Helms wrote, has produced no information on Jack Ruby or his activities. As for Jolly West, he also did his part to keep Ruby untainted from any whiff of conspiracy. As the Warren Commission tried to divine Ruby's motive, West sent a confidential letter to Earl Warren himself, a copy of which I discovered in the HSCA files, dated June 23, 1964, and addressed to my dear Mr. Chief Justice. West's note contends that his examinations of Ruby gave him unique insight into the man's motivations for the murder. This, despite the fact that West had said Ruby was positively insane. He was confident that Ruby had acted in an irrational and unpremeditated manner when he shot Oswald, wanting to prove that the Jews, through himself, loved their president and were not cowards. Moreover, West asserted that Ruby had never seen Oswald in his life before his involvement in the Kennedy assassination broke. Without consent from his patient or his patient's lawyers, West was offering confidential medical assessments tailored to political ends. Please let me know if there's anything else that I can do to be of assistance, he added. Warren didn't. In an internal note, he dismissed the psychiatrist, as an interloper, writing, "I see no need to do anything with this material." He had known of West's CIA connections. Had he known of West's CIA connections, he may have reacted differently. If West couldn't foist his version of events onto the Warren Commission, he could at least make sure that no compromising that no compromising information about Ruby emerged. At his urging, a psychiatrist named Dr. Werner Tuteur, Tuteur, Tutor, examined Ruby in July of 1965 to prepare for an upcoming hearing on his sanity. Tudor submitted a 12-page report to West. It was there in his files, bundled with an edited version that West had submitted to the court. He struck just one passage, the most vital. There is considerable guilt about the fact that he sent guns to Cuba, Tudor had written. He feels he helped the enemy and incriminated himself. They got what they wanted on me, erasing those lines. West expunged the very evidence Griffin had been looking for. West kept meticulous notes on the Ruby case, all dutifully filed. As investigators, scholars, journalists struggled to piece together the puzzle, he watched from afar, compiling records for his own book about Ruby. He never ended up writing it, but he paid close attention to the exhaustive 1965 volume, The Trial of Jack Ruby, by John Kaplan and John R. Waltz. They wrote, "The fact is that nobody knows why Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald, and that includes Jack Ruby." Jolly West had jotted down that line with a note to himself. Good quote. It was, until now, the closest he ever came to receiving public credit for his work. Coda, the data spew. Libra, Don DeLeo's 1988 novel about Lee Harvey Oswald, features a character named Nicholas Branch, a retired CIA analyst tasked with internally reviewing the agency's conduct on the JFK assassination once and for all. The assignment swallows him for 15 years. The agency pays for the construction of a lavish, fireproof home office, which becomes, to Branch, the book-filled room, the room of documents, the room of theories and dreams. He reposes in a glove-leather armchair, surrounded by shelves and filing cabinets, bursting with folders, cassettes, legal pads, and books. Branch sits in the new data spew of hundreds of lives. He sits in the data spew of hundreds of lives. He comes to feel that the past is changing as he writes, and his ultimate subject, he knows, isn't crime or politics, it's men in small rooms. Although I had a sagging sofa instead of a glove-leather armchair, and while nothing in my apartment was fire insured, let alone fireproof, I identified a lot with Nicholas Branch. I was immersed in records, voices from the past, competing narratives, complexity that sometimes seemed to multiply for its own sake. No matter which way I moved, the story shifted beneath my feet. I was a man in a small room, reading about men in small rooms. But where Nicholas Branch had the full backing of the CIA, I only had myself. As I worked to fill out my book proposal and, I hoped, draw my reporting to a close, I had dreams of sharing my findings with the members of the Warren Commission, brandishing evidence they had never been able to pry out of the CIA. But most of the commission's members were long dead. Gerald Ford wasn't, but he wanted nothing to do with me. Bert Griffin, who was responsible for handling the Ruby aspect of the investigation, said in a phone interview that my findings were very scary stuff and that West's relationship with the CIA should be investigated. But he was long retired. If anyone was going to launch an investigation, it wouldn't be him. I had better luck with Arlen Specter, then the senior senator for my home state of Pennsylvania. Late in 2002, visiting my parents in Philadelphia, I decided to see if he was interested in the papers I'd uncovered. Specter had joined the Warren Commission as a young investigative attorney. He participated in Ruby's appearances before the commission. When Ruby dilated on his anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, what? Oh, all right, because he had said that there was a Holocaust happening. All right. He thought he had an ally in Specter. Specter. Dude's name is Specter. What's his first name? I was going to call him Harvey. Specter. Arlen Specter, one of the commission's only few Jewish staff members. Specter was also responsible for the Warren Commission. Anyway. Specter was only responsible for the Warren Commission's controversial single bullet theory, which argued that one bullet had taken a circuitous route through the bodies of JFK and Governor John Connally, who had been sitting in front of Kennedy when he was shot. This theory ruled out the possibility of a second gunman, and Specter regarded it as gospel truth. He referred to it as the single bullet conclusion. Wow, right? Because the magic bullet theory, single bullet conclusion. Since his role in the commission had launched his career, Specter had been unusually forthcoming about it over the years, eager to defend his position and to remind voters of his role in a seminal chapter of American history. Getting Specter's attention took months. Through his aides, I wrangled what was supposed to be a 2-minute phone interview. He called me from the Senate floor. I'd laid out my case as quickly as possible, with background on West, his involvement in the CIA's MKUltra experiments, and his examination of Ruby. Specter was intrigued. Our call ended up running to 20 minutes. Though he had no knowledge of the agency's mind control program or the congressional investigation into it, he seemed open to the possibility that West could have tampered with Ruby and thus with the Warren Commission's findings. "Can you fax me these documents?" he asked, offering to approach the CIA about them. I wanted him to see them in person. Once they were out of my hands, there's no telling where they might end up, and alerting the CIA to them right away might not be in the best interest of my reporting. Specter sighed. No, reporting. It might not be in the best interest of my reporting, period. And then Specter sighed. Knowing that congressmen usually went home for weekends, I took a chance. "If you're going to be in Philadelphia, ... He had a squash match that Saturday at the Wyndham Plaza Hotel. He suggested I meet him there. His aide would call to set it up. I was thrilled. A sitting senator, a key investigator for the Warren Commission, was willing to hear me out in person. I followed up with a fax sharing some of the New York Times reporting on MKUltra and more information on West. Then I got paranoid. I hadn't gone through every box of West's files yet. What if divulging my findings to Specter jeopardized my access to those? Someone could get there first and remove anything incriminating. But that was outlandish, I thought. I was flying back to LA at the end of the weekend. If I went to the UCLA files right away, I'd be fine. Even the CIA couldn't act so quickly. And yet, the more I thought about it, the more distrustful I got. Why was Specter so eager to see the documents? He hadn't seemed to care a whit about my credentials or lack thereof, and could it really be true that a longtime senator had never heard of MKUltra? Specter was the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, the same group that had investigated MKUltra back in the day. He had the power to open doors for me, but if he was bent on upholding the Warren Commission's findings, wouldn't he just as soon close those doors? I was overthinking everything, and then overthinking my overthinking. At the end of the day, I decided to err on the side of caution and postpone our meeting. Maybe in the future I could have an attorney accompany me or some impartial observer. The next morning, I left messages at Specter's hotel with his press office. I was profoundly sorry, but an emergency had come up and I really had to leave for LA that afternoon. I went to run a few errands, trying to convince myself I hadn't made a huge mistake. To this day, I wonder about that. While I was out, the phone rang and my mom picked it up. It was Arlen Specter, sounding confused. Having been briefed on my plan, my mom told Specter I was on my way to the airport. Her feelings were mixed, she told me later. Her son was important enough to merit a call from a senator on a weekend, but her son also made her lie to that senator. Specter was gobsmacked. "So he's not going to meet with me?" "I'm afraid not," my mom said. I tried to reschedule our meeting for years. When I finally got him on the phone again, I was so shocked to have gotten through, that I realized I had long since stopped preparing for our talk. I had been months since I'd rehearsed the particulars of West and Ruby. I was much less convincing. He wasn't interested in seeing any of my papers. "I just don't see where all this leads," Specter said. This was a phrase I'd be hearing a lot in the coming years. There we go. That was the end of chapter 11, and we're going to stop there. I'll be back tomorrow to start chapter 12. Let's see. Which is, I think, the last chapter. Where does it all go? So I'm going to compile a list from my list of like the 4 that I'm most interested in exploring next, the most relevant, in my opinion, with regards to where we are currently. Maybe the assault on truth will be on there. I don't know. I'm going to dig through it, though, and I'll put up a poll, and we'll see who wants to read what the most. So subscribe if you're not, and you'll see that if you click the bell for me. You'll see when I upload that. And then vote. Trump for King of America 2028. Give me a break. We already have a king. His name's BB. Good night. Why? B left? Let's go back. There is no God. Religion is primitive superstition. I don't know, dude. I had Jesus come to me in a meditation. I was never into... I even had an aversion to the word, and now, it's undeniable. And I don't know if you venture towards, like, quantum mechanics or physics or any of that spooky shit. That scientific spooky shit. It seems kind of like we live in a simulation type holographic reality that we hallucinate into knowing. I was just talking about this to somebody, but I mean, you just subbed just in case. Welcome. Thank you. Cool. Awesome. Worst bedtime story ever. I know. Are you going to be thinking about it up and at 'em? What should we do next? Can't believe we've gotten through this so quickly. I like that, though. I try to resolve before I read on here, I would read to myself. I'm like, I can't put the book down unless I've read a chapter. I've got to do a chapter a day, or else I'm going to just be sitting here piling up books. And then I'll lose interest in one and pick up another, and then I'll have 3 or 4. Jesus is king. Christ is king. Yep. And I wasn't trying to confront the person saying God doesn't exist, but I mean, I pray that you find God in your life. I hope Jesus comes to you and it's profoundly unnerving, And then you have to rewrite your whole life or understanding of life. Because that's what happened to me, and it was a beautiful thing. Everything changed for the better after that. Not immediately. It got worse before it got better. But I knew I wasn't alone and that I could handle it. Because Jesus said so to me, to my face, if you can believe it. All right, Ricky, I'll see you later. Thanks for being here. Thanks for keeping track of my chat, too. I appreciate that. I had 3 near-death experiences. I was over my body, but before I ever knew Jesus, I was very witchy, very spiritual. I did Merkaba meditations religiously for a while until I was able to leave my body. And I practiced breath work, and altered states that way were crazy. And I don't know, I read tarot for a long time, and remote viewing and stuff, astral projection, that kind of thing. It kind of came natural to me as a kid, and then I would play with it with the meditation. Those CIA, I didn't know they were CIA until much recently, but those hemi-sync, you can go on YouTube and find them, and they can, it's like binaural beats. You can sync up your brain with theta for meditation, and so on and so forth. But I was doing that, and then I was accosted kind of by Jesus, and now I had a chance to call angels before brutally got murdered, but he didn't. And he didn't because he knew what he was sacrificing himself for. He loved us so much. Stay away from, yeah. I mean, yeah, I gave up. I had a gift with tarot. I was able to connect with people. And I used to, before I don't know, before I was scolded so much by people, Christians, I was praying before I did tarot readings to allow me to be a voice of the divine, a way to pass along the message that he wanted me to. I wanted him to use me in that sort of way, and I felt very much like I was effective. But I don't know if that was a little bit of hubris. I don't want to slip into that, so I don't want to feel like I can speak for Jesus. And it feels in hindsight kind of like what I was trying to do. And I don't know if it was from a place of love or if it was from a place of ego. You died twice in the ER. I was assaulted. It was never mentioned in school what was stay away from the powers. Oh. You know what? That's interesting. I had that question, and when I saw Jesus, there was this whole like vision. I was taken to a place, even it looked like a big atrium inside a cloudy friggin' library with angelic people up on these different levels, and Jesus had people with him, and there was people behind me and stuff, and like Satan was there, and he had somebody on a leash, and that somebody I won't divulge who, but it was an important message to me, and I came out of there understanding that Jesus and the devil or Satan were like almost brothers, buddies, but almost brothers, in that Jesus had nothing but love for him, and I don't know how to explain it. Not to say that I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. But that was just my experience. God is real for sure. The science backs it up. I believe that 100%. I believe you were in another dimension or whatever. Sorry for my English, but it was not the past or future. I agree. I had lost my dad. My dad got a heart transplant in 1999, and I was there taking care of him before. And then after they give you about 10 to 15 years. And after he was done with that allotted time, he had a slow decline, and I took care of him then as well. And when I saw Jesus in this vision, this meditation, it was just dark. I just needed a breather. I wasn't even trying to like astral project or do anything fancy. I was just having a stressful day. I wanted a minute to myself in a dark, quiet room, and I sat there breathing, and like, it started out as I started hearing a heartbeat, and I was like, I'm hearing my own heartbeat, but I came aware of this heartbeat, and it got stronger. And then in my just mind's eye, I see my dad's chest, like as I remember laying on it as a kid, and then the chest, like a scar appeared, his scar, and he always called it his zipper. And then it split open, kind of like a flower blooming. His lungs came out, the anatomy, I could see it all. It was crazy. And then his heart came out, and it was the heart that was transplanted out of him, that was taken out. And it had the biopsy cuts on it. I had seen the heart afterwards. And this was the heart. It was living tissue. When I saw it, it wasn't. If that makes any sense. And then the heart started glowing until it was like I was in space, face to face with the sun. And then I'm like, what is this? Or something. I was just boggled. And then I started seeing this like real, like a flip book kind of all of these tattoos of Jesus's face, like in all the different styles, like traditional and so forth. And it felt like very much And then I heard dad repeated, dad. And it came through this message of my dad. But it felt like I was seeing the Father through the Son. And that was the message I was getting. I was like, holy shit, you know? And that's when I go into this place with him. And all these people showed up, and like loved ones that I had known and lost, and you know, all the answers. And when I got out of this meditation, I thought it had been not that long, but it was like an hour and a half, and everybody's pissed at me that it was like it was my husband. We'd been divorced after this, but at the time, it was his birthday, which was also significant later. But I felt like I was walking around in Christ consciousness, like just my soul was golden, and I felt like I could understand my dog. And that faded, but then everything changed for me in my life. So I do have a connection with him now, big time, big time. I foster that. And I feel, I took my kid to the dentist. I put a, go look through my shorts. You'll see a short where, and I think it's titled something about, I had just been talking about Jesus. Look at this or something. You'll see it in the title. You'll see it in the thumbnail. And across the street, they were doing like a scene. A church was doing a scene of Jesus walking with his cross. Just, and a crowd of people filming it and so forth, while I was walking into the dentist with my kiddo, and he had just gotten pictures taken of his teeth, and they showed me like the picture of it that day, and he didn't have the stinking cavity anymore, and we left. And right after I had that meditation with Jesus, I had a tooth break, and it was severely infected. And I then received a call from somebody who took over my old dentist's office saying, I'd like to offer my services to you. I'm new to the practice. I purchased the practice. I go in and see him, and he fixes my whole mouth for free. And that came as just another Jesus being active in my life, and there was no denying it for me. And when, I don't know, when I talk about this, I know it sounds wild, but that happened in 2017. In 2017. And then my kiddo's tooth, that was just last year. And he literally had a cavity. And in the short, I show the before and after picture. It's only a couple of days where this black cavity in his tooth is gone. He's like, I don't have to do anything here. And I walked in after seeing Jesus. Like, that was such a nod. And it's those kinds of things, the synchronicity, where I see him active. And then I pray daily, multiple times a day. And I pray with my children. And I pray over them and my family and my relationship, my partner, just constantly. And it counts. Even if you go through AA, they say you need to have a higher power and somebody to pray to and somebody to sit and listen for when you meditate, because prayer and meditation, what is that? The second step is, so the first step is, I don't know, let me look it up actually. The first step is admitting you have a problem. I think the second step is giving it to your higher power. And then the third step is like, use me, allow the higher power's will. I don't make good decisions, so I'm going to let something more powerful than me make said decisions. Do I have to open a new tab? I hate that. I had a whole set of tabs and accidentally closed it out. I'm not sure how. So let's look at the 12 steps. And I have people on here tell me that they're in recovery. 12 steps and traditions. And so I love sharing my experience. Like, you can have hope, and it doesn't have to be a hope for a lifetime in the 12-step situation. Because you got this, we got this. You do have to do what they tell you for a time. All right, it's making me click each one. each, I just want like a gift, not a gift, like a meme style image of the stinking steps. So I can see where it is. Here we go. Open it. Admitted we were powerless. 2 is came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, make a decision to turn our will and lives over to the care of God as we understood him. That's the 3rd step prayer. Stop, my computer's being... Jeff Ingalls, Fly Eagles Fly. What are you, from Philly? Hi, Kenneth. Is it Kenneth? Is it Ken and Jen? What's your wife's name? Is that you? I am speaking from the heart. The Bible says when you die and go to heaven, you will not recognize any of your loved ones. No, I believe that for sure. I think they only take the shape of what we need them to be while we're here. But then there's a lot of people who say if you speak with people who have passed, or if you hear from them in some kind of way, that it's demonic. I don't know about that. God is fake for dumb people. You are cognitive behind. Okay, hop. Isaiah, you prayed before you read cards? I don't know, is it? I did every time. I just didn't know that I was praying to God or Jesus beforehand. No, I switched gears because my intent was every time I do tarot readings, I asked for the light to guide me. You know, I wanted to be positive for these people who were sending me money and like believing that I had something for them. I prayed before I had a relationship with God or Jesus to the light. So, because I feel like I've always known that there's light and dark in this world. I mean, anybody can see that. They'll know you as you were known. So if you're an atheist and you go to AA, take it you have to lie and pretend? No, so that's a really great question. They'll even tell you, even if you say that your higher power is like a doorknob. I didn't really resonate with that, but I could see how, because like the doorknob can take the weight of you and it can keep you from entering a space, you know, so it's more powerful than you, like if the doorknob's locked, do you know what I mean? So like, even if it's your car or if it's the, you know, the summer sunset, whatever it is, you have to put faith in something that's stronger than you, even if it's your parent, just to get your foot in the door. Just to surrender and say like, fuck, you know, I have gotten myself in so much trouble and my life is now unmanageable. I need to let other people take the wheel. I need to take some feedback and be open to guidance from something smarter than me. Satan is the light. Lucifer is the light bearer. And our Statue of Liberty sure looks like old-timey paintings of Lucifer, doesn't he? Doesn't she? With the chains, the broken shackles in her feet. Or no, they're not broken. Her feet are chained, which is another nod to the chained Satan. You guys are dwindling. Should I go? 50 likes today. Got you. Thank you for asking, though, Justin. Jesse, it's all evil and it's all devil worship. We're all going to hell. Years ago, he used to listen to ministry, Dr. Jack and Alexa Van Imp, Bible scholars and prophecies. It's like I used to listen to ministry too. Different. It's very different. Okay, so the primary objective of today's stream, I have finished reading chapter 11 of Chaos. Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. And then I interact in the chat. And I interact with the chat while reading. This is book club, and I do this almost every night. I took a day off yesterday. I don't have planned days off. I do it like it's my me time, and I am an avid reader, and I read, and I've always wanted to be in a book club, and because none of my friends ever have the time to read, and I know often at night I friggin' scroll YouTube trying to find something that's long enough that's not AI narrated. And it's usually like true crime or Tim Dillon or Theo Vaughn or Tucker Carlson. Sean Ryan these days, I was avoiding him because I thought, like, this guy's clearly the new era of Mockingbird media because he was CIA or something. What was he? He wasn't CIA. He was like a Navy SEAL or like a Marine or somebody. I don't know because I didn't pay much attention. But after his Candace Owens interview, I was like, oh. Because it was Brian Harple's interview because I was subscribed, but I didn't watch much. And then I watched that and I was like, unsubscribed. Because clearly he's allowing people to push Fed slop. Silent Gaming. Randy, hi. Jesus sucks. Jesus loves you. You need a wife? I hope you find one. Good night, Justin. Yes, I was born a girl. Had some babies. I get that a lot. I get that a lot from bots. People asking me if I'm trans. I don't know. Is that something that's supposed to hurt feelings? Theo Vaughn self-hates, but he is beautifully self-reflective. It was incredibly moving. He was describing how he said something about when he prays, he's like, there's something in me that knows that when I pray for a new life or like to not have certain habits or character qualities or whatever, he's like, I pray for relief from those, but there's something in me that knows that I'm lying. He's like, so I feel like I need to pray for you to meet me in that. Like, that's where I need the help. Knowing that if I pray to you that I want to change something, I know that I'm going to go back and do the thing. And he's like, that's where I need the help. And that's where I'm going to center this prayer. And it was just beautiful. Not to kiss Sean Ryan's boots, but you clearly don't understand his background enough to have a reliable opinion. I know. That's what I just said, Archer. That's what I said. I don't know enough because I haven't watched him much, but I've been watching him more lately. That's what I said. That's why I was talking about him. Because I like long-form videos where people are talking. Great stream so far. Thank you, Silent Gaming. Hoping you can help me out for the past year. I've been trying to seduce your dad. Oh. All right. My 99-year-old dad used to say that I'm a chip off the old block, a Sasquatch. I'm 7'8". No kidding. All right. That's funny. I call my man Yeti. I used to. I don't anymore. But I used to. When we first met, he was my sound guy and I was his tour manager. And I called him Yeti because he had a big old beard. Who else here? Don't be shy. Oh my God, I got some jewels. Who sent me something? All right, well, it seems like y'all are slowing down and I am too, kind of. It's 2:14. Tatted up Lois Lane. Johnny Blue Eyes. That's real sweet. What a beautiful woman. We like the same stuff. That's cool. Dang, Ronald. Oh, are you the one saying you were trying to find a wife? Read Across and the Switchblade, written by late David Wilkerson and Nikki Cruz. I like a good book recommendation. You're in England? Jacob Baseface? Or Jaco? Jacko base face. Well, hello in England. How's it going? Archer, that was real weird. It's still sitting there, so I'm like reading it again, not to kiss Sean Ryan's boots, but you clearly don't understand his background. Like, isn't that what I said? I feel like that's what I led with, friend. All right. The chat is slowing, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Book club, subscribe, like. I'll see ya. Oop.